Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Rusty Quill Gaming Podcast. I'm your host and GM, Alex Newall, and with me for another adventure is...
James Helpful Ross.
Bryn, Monroe.
Lydia Nicholas.
Meredith.
And who are you playing?
Sir Bertrand MacGuffingham.
Hamid!
Oh.
Sasha.
Zolf.
So, as you may have noticed, we're in mid-scene. As it stands currently, while Zolf was exonerated, bought his commission after being arrested for being a navvy who ran away, effectively, you're still on the way to Paris.
Yay.
But
Paris, yeah, that's definitely the goal. I remember.
I remember. It's been a while now.
Yep.
But the party's had a bit of a split. Turns out Bertie's not as suicidal as we all thought.
Nope.
And has decided to... There's a bet, isn't there?
There is a bet.
Yes.
250 gold now.
Or Bertie's silence for 3 whole days.
Oh, the stakes are high. So Bertie, having failed to rescue a single person on the way through Dover, is currently making his way towards the Channel Tunnel. Meanwhile, Mr. Smith...
Sasha's just gone overboard.
Yeah, Mr. Smith is watching as Sasha is about 50 feet away in a massive stormy water, and Hamid's doing exactly nothing to help, because if he lets go, he's gone as well.
And
So-
Sasha can't swim. Sasha is splashing and sinking.
So, in classic TV fashion, rather than following the cliffhanger, we'll start with Bertie. So, you have made it through to the specific Channel Tunnel station.
Terminus.
Yeah. It looks like there are a bunch of staff, and they are all having a discussion outside the gates, and there's a queue of angry-looking people at their entrance.
Right. Bertie, is it a queue or is it a crowd?
It is a loose queue. As in, it is a queue, but it's not particularly orderly. You get the impression that some people are trying their luck and pushing ahead and so on.
Okay. Is there and are there staff at the front of the queue?
Yes, there is a steel grate shutter which is closed halfway across, so there's a little space that you could fit through, but it looks like they're trying to decide whether to close or not,
So
basically.
it's Victoria Underground Station during rush hour.
Pretty much.
Okay. So Bertie, noticing that there is a queue in inverted commas, stands at the back of the queue because he wasn't raised in a barn, but announces to the front of the queue, "Does anybody know what's going on here? Why is there such a queue and a delay?"
Now, everyone calm down. It's just, we have to wait and check for damp. I mean, there's a slight delay. We may end up having to close today, but at which point there's a massive rah, 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 rah from everyone. It's mostly merchants who appear to be carrying valuables. So it seems to be like there's a lot of people who are trying their luck thinking, you know what, if I transport this expensive stuff by the tunnel, it's better than having nothing transported.
Yeah.
So it's a very posh clientele comparatively.
Stand aside, please, ladies and gentlemen. Important meritocratic business. I am Sir Bertrand MacGuffingham on a singular mission to get on that train. So when Bertie confronts the people at the front of the staff at the front. Yes?
Yep.
Now, I understand that this might be shut. Is that correct?
Well, we're still doing the engineering examination. If you'll just give us an hour or so, we'll know, and from there we'll be able to tell you whether we're going to be open today. If I'm honest, we're probably going to close. He's yelling out over your head. Everyone's going, oh, this is ridiculous, and makes the people laugh.
That's outrageous. I am on important meritocratic business.
Well, that's great. Would you like to drown? I don't know what you want me to do.
Well, what seems to be the problem?
Well, we have to do a check. We have to make sure there hasn't been a breach. It's it's not exactly, old technology that we're using here. You've got to check that it's all intact.
So the newer the technology is, the more work needs to be done. Is that correct?
I'm just saying that, all the kinks aren't worked out yet. Just wait in line. We'll deal with you when we get to you.
Nothing can be done to expedite matters, I take it. No. Go to grease the wheels, perhaps? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, etc., etc.
Give me a diplomacy check, just for what you did. I won't allow public pageantry.
Yeah. Natural 20.
Whenever he needs it, it comes out.
Yeah.
Natural 20, the sort of station master takes a moment and goes, maybe very expensive to expedite a train. I mean, a train's big, that's a lot of gold, greasing a lot of wheels.
How many wheels and at what rate per wheel?
Cut to... Yeah. Starting with Sasha, I will need a swim check from you just to stay above water. So,
Oh,
3.
3 minus 1.
you drop below the water. You're now holding your breath. For listeners who can't see it, she's literally holding her breath. It's interesting viewing. So, if you're underwater, because of failing a swim check, or you're under intentionally, you must hold your breath, obviously, and you can hold it for the number of rounds equal to twice your con score.
Ooh.
So that's a bit complicated. So that's each round is 6 seconds. Your con score, so not the ability modifier, your actual score. So what's your con score?
12.
12 times 6 being 72. Yeah. So you can hold your breath for 72 seconds, but that's only if you...
twice your con score.
So that'd be 144 seconds. But that's assuming you do nothing to stay the situation. That's you literally just holding your breath. So if you are trying to swim back to the surface and so on, it starts cutting into that. It's a bit complicated. Long story short.
This is a new situation for me. I don't think I'm doing very much.
Sure.
Apart from panicking is the thing. I'm probably not holding my breath optimally, but
sure.
I mean, since that's already so low.
So, with that in mind, picking up where we left off, Sasha is currently now under the water, holding her breath.
Okay, I will whip out a knife.
Okay. Put her out of misery.
Put it in my teeth. Found a sacrifice!
It's clear what Poseidon wants!
So, slam it down on the corner brace for the sail.
Sure.
So that it flaps up, like it doesn't leave, but it stops being so billowy.
It's a drag at this point.
Yeah.
The ship lurches when you do so,
Yes.
obviously.
Look at Hamid, say, stay down and hold on! And then what I'm going to do is javelin my trident into the sea.
Okay.
And start screaming at the sky, no! If you're going to do anything, take me! Don't take her! And then take my chainmail off, throw that into the sea, and dive in after it.
Okay.
And go for Sasha.
Okay, so you
That'll take a while.
spike your trident into the water, gone without a trace.
Yeah.
Chainmail, gone without a trace. You jump in, give me
Gone without a trace.
Give me a swing.
Okay, cool. I lose the -4 physical thing for having chainmail, so that's good.
It takes a number of rounds equal to the armor check penalty to remove armor.
4 rounds then.
I'm factoring it in, so I'm going to get him to do his dive, and then we'll factor it into how much time he got left.
10.
10. Okay, so
Actually, not that good as fuck.
Well, sailors generally weren't, were they? Because if you
That's true.
could swim,
Yeah.
if you fall in, it was better to drown quickly rather than drag out for days.
Well, I'm afraid you fall.
Oh, hang on a minute. No, sorry. 6.
So, yeah,
that's not an armor check penalty. That's a leg penalty.
Yeah, it is. So you're under the water too.
Yeah.
Struggling to breathe. You're now holding your breath. Hamid, do you do anything?
I hang on to the boat.
Okay, we'll cut back to bureaucracy. He's starting to get a bit befuzzled by your math. So per wheel, so the train has 60 wheels, including carriages, but you're only including prime numbered
Also,
carriages.
it's going at 60 miles an hour in the direction of Paris. There's another one going at 35 miles per hour in the opposite direction.
So, wait. So is that 50 gold?
50 gold? Yes, of course it is. Oh, hang on. No, according to my maths, it's actually 25.
What?
Yes. I'm glad you agree. You're wiser than you look, you know.
At which point someone else comes up and is muttering in his ear and he goes, "Do you reckon we can risk it?" 30. He gives you a really canny look like he's totally got one over on you. 30.
Oh, well, you drive a hard bargain, yes. Couldn't... Oh, theatrically taps his pockets to big clanging noises. Yes, well, cool. Well, I mean, if it were possible to negotiate first class, particularly for myself and my hideous daughter.
My dear sir, this is the tunnel. It's all first class.
Oh, excellent. Well, good. Super. Well, 30.
He kind of holds a hand out meaningfully.
Puts 30 gold into it. Subtly as Bertie can.
Thank you for your donation to the maintenance of a lot of the merchants are kind of raising eyebrows, but no one's about to rock the boat, as it were, given the fact that you're getting the train running. Fine, right, he pulls it open. Sorry for the inconvenience, everybody. Water's coming into the station a little bit as he's pulling open the grates.
One of the other themes of this campaign is institutions just flagrantly ignoring health and safety rules.
You've only been in Britain.
Bertie turns to the crowd and goes,
You wait till
Then in
Paris.
France it will be even more laissez-faire. Am I right?
Bertie turns to the crowd and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, another victory for private sector intervention into the railway sector."
Presumably you splash down into the underground station.
Into the underground station.
Okay, as you're doing so, give me a reflex save.
2. Plus 2 is 4.
You manage to instantly, the second you step onto the incredibly wet tiles as the water's rushing past you underground, fall flat on your back and ding, 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 down the whole stairs.
I'm fine!
Not hurt in any way, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's clear that they've closed it for a totally legitimate reason, and you're putting loads of people at risk.
He may not be hurt, but his social damage is replicable.
It's
Was
fine.
your armour dented?
The armour is not dented. The armour is not dented.
Brutal.
It was more sort of toboggan
Brutus on the
based.
front. Brutus on the
Brutal had a
front.
whale of a time.
There's now dog spittle on the stairs.
So, nonetheless, we'll skip ahead a bit and say, because obviously a decent amount of time has passed with the rest of the party, you managed to get onto the train.
No, not.
Yeah.
And as you are getting onto the train, you see water is rushing over the platform onto the actual tracks beneath. Bearing in mind, just as a bit of flavour, this is an underground station. It's large. It has a high vaulted ceiling. If Sasha was here, it would feel reminiscent of London in some ways for that. That is sort of industrial style. However, the train is not steam by any stretch. There are old-style carriages with walnut panelling, and with the they actually have some stained glass in the windows and things like that. It's very opulent.
In case you want to have a communion or
Well,
something.
it's just one of those things.
Fair enough.
Because they can, I get
Okay.
the impression. There are a large number, however, proportionally of cargo. Even though there are, say, 3 carriages for people,
Yeah.
there are 3 carriages, 4 carriages for actual just cargo and freight and so
Yeah.
on. And the engine at the front is huge. It's massive. It's a good sort of 20 foot tall, so the tunnel must be fairly sizable. And you have no knowledge engineering or anything like that, do you?
No.
For the sake of being able to picture it, it's more reminiscent of a diesel engine with that sort of snub nose
Yeah,
without any outlets for steam or anything like that. And you can see arcs of lightning patterning across the
not
outer
good
hull a
for
little
water.
bit. As
Yeah.
water drips down, you'll just hear...
I think it's more in flavour that I don't take a perception check. I'm just like, yeah, that seems fine.
That's what trains do.
Yeah.
Cutting back to the storm. Sasha, what do you do?
I do another swim check to try and get up to the top.
Go for it.
This might be a very bad idea, but you know. Oh gosh, 5.
Okay.
That was a 9.
That was a 9.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay, so 8.
You remain under the water.
Oh.
Zolf, you don't sink though, you're just beneath the water. Zolf. You are now in the water and currently under the water, also holding your breath because the storm is just...
I am going to swim for where I saw Sasha.
Give me a perception check to see if she's still there.
Oh, good. That's a critical fail.
Natural
Oh
one.
gosh! We're
Not
actually
only-
both gonna die.
Not only
we
have
may
you,
both-
We're just gonna die.
Not-
And Hamid's gonna be a driftwood boat.
not only have you
Someone's going to win a bet.
So, fantasy rock band, anyone? Fantasy rock band.
so not only do you lose sight of Sasha, you get turned around. Give me a swim check to see if you get above the water.
12.
You don't get above the water, but you don't sink any further, and you lose sight of the boat with the driftwood because of the natural one. So you are now currently fighting for your own life, never mind Sasha's. Hamid, you saw Sasha get whipped away instantly. Zolf chucks all of his stuff in the ocean and dives in after her. He's gone without a
After
trace as
shouting to
well.
Poseidon, don't take her, take her.
What do you do, the untrained person on a
Panic.
driftwood
Panic
boat?
an option.
I should point out the wind is still so strong that you will be taking penalties to the strength check just to let go of the boat.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm just clinging on for dear life.
Sure. At which point, a huge wave again comes crashing across to the boat. It tips onto its side, doesn't capsize. It's still floating, thankfully. It's made of driftwood. Suddenly seemed like a good idea, but it doesn't sink, but it is now an awkward angle, water sloshing in against you and all kinds of things. But you're not underwater or anything like that.
I'm gonna crawl slowly and as carefully as I possibly can towards the centre of the boat and
Okay.
the bench where the
rower would sit.
rower would sit.
Okay,
I'm basically taking 10. I
Yeah.
don't care if this takes me several rounds.
that's fine. It will take you 4 rounds.
That's fine.
But I won't be making you a check to literally get blown over.
I'm taking 10.
That's fine. I realise we're expanding and contracting time a little bit. Cutting back to Bertie. So, the train's on there. You're hearing an argument with the driver of the train. You're in your compartment. It's nice and quiet. There is a bookish fellow sat opposite you. He's holding a notepad and it's got a little bit of an ink stain on it, and he's just sort of dozing. He's got his spectacles down, he's dozing opposite you. Looks very like a lecturer or something like that. And looking out into the corridor, there's a few merchants who are kind of settling themselves down, and you can see an open argument between the guy that you've bribed, the station master, and the driver who's going, "We'll all die. We will die. We're going... You can't... What are you doing?" And the station master going, "Come on. You've done this before. It's fine. Honestly, it's a minor inconvenience. The second that you're a bit further out, it'll be fine." And the driver's having none of it.
I think Bertie is going to be listening in on this. I want Bertie to sort of sense motive on part of the driver.
Okay.
Like, I basically, what Bertie is trying to discern is whether he's actually done this before.
Oh, sure. Give sense motive.
Sense motive is -1 because it involves other people's feelings. That is 6 -1 is 5.
He seems to be using his mouth to form words.
He's slapping some face meat against other face meat.
How strange.
Basically, it's... You have no idea.
Yeah,
These are all people who, frankly, you're not sure they have motives.
Right, yeah, fair enough.
So below.
The argument, and basically the station master goes, "Look, I'm not doing this with you again. This is worth a lot of money, okay? You're going to do it," and he just leaves. Just leaves with the driver stood there holding some, like a large key in one hand and holding like a ticket thing in the other, and he's just stood there a bit nonplussed.
I say then, driver.
Yeah?
I understand that you're going to be driving this train.
If you can call it that.
I wonder at what time we might arrive in Calais.
Never. We're all going to die.
Now, such pessimism. But, were we not to die?
As you're talking, he's turning around and putting the key in the lock to get to the driver's compartment. You're at the frontmost passenger carriage.
Were we not to die, what sort of time might we expect to arrive?
He just opens the door, steps through, turns to you. Doom! Closes the door.
He seems a cheery fellow. Maybe he should be Ben's backup character.
Can't be station master.
Even Bertie would notice that as a motive check. Well, says Bertie, just kind of, tosses back into the carriage. He seemed like a cheery fellow, he says to Brutal.
At which point there's a huge amounts of lightning outside, arcing off the walls and so on. And then the train begins to pull forward slowly, as lightning is literally arcing along the sides of the tunnel, not inside the train.
Yeah, Bertie has enough knowledge of how electricity works to maybe consider taking off his armour. So I think Bertie probably removes his armour and wears something more appropriate for travel, so he's not wearing armour at this stage.
As you're removing the armour, the bookish fellow opposite you sort of wakes up. Are we moving then?
Believe so, yes. I am Sir Bertrand MacGuffingham. A pleasure for you to make my acquaintance.
Oh.
You will be enjoying my company for the next doom hours until we reach Calais. If the young man driving the train is to be believed. This is Brutal, my hideous daughter. I wonder, you seem like a well-equipped and bookish fellow. Would you have the materials required to make a tiny, adorable riverboat gambler's outfit?
He just looks at you. And then we'll cut back to the actual
Strong
drama.
opening gambit. We're not going to forget you anytime soon.
So, Sasha, you are currently, as far as you're concerned, alone in the middle of an ocean in the biggest storm you've ever seen in your life.
I
What
don't
do you
have time
do?
to be depressed.
Not really.
Not existentially, anyway. I'm going to try and swim for the surface.
Go for it.
Oh, God. 11 minus 1, 10.
10. You manage to break the surface.
Yay! Do I get some air?
You get some air.
Yay! Back to 24.
However, by no means do you have any control of your situation. You were just got
I'm
some
not
more
drowning now. Well, I
Zolf.
probably am.
Cutting to you, you are currently also effectively alone in the ocean.
Yes.
You do have time to feel existentially depressed.
Sort of makes time, I think.
Yeah. Let's just set something aside every day. Just right, great, fabulous. Okay, I do have that.
What are you being correct, great, and fabulous?
Yes.
That's 3 rounds of activity, and you can take 10 on all.
Hey, this guy.
I'm really afraid I'm going to die,
I'm
so
gonna
now Alex's
drown.
jokes are funny. I see what's happening.
Not aing, but drowning. It's,
having not prepped any super useful spells today, which is great, I will continue to try and swim towards Sasha.
Go for it.
I don't know where Sasha is.
Yep. Still going to try. 5.
5. You are still below the water. Never mind trying to find Sasha. You're starting to struggle yourself.
Yep.
Hamid. Another huge wave comes ploughing into the boat, and it begins to actively capsize. Not sink, but it is tipping over on you. You are in the middle of the boat currently holding onto the mast, so it is beginning to tip effectively over and onto you. What do you do?
Hang on.
Okay. The boat tips. I'll allow you to just take the 10 on that because all you're doing is maintaining. And you find yourself in an air pocket as the boat has tipped up.
So full turtle.
It's full turtle at this point. You are in the air pocket beneath. You hear the storm raging outside, but this is the first modicum of calm you've had the entire time you've been there, although obviously the water level's powering up right towards your eyes and then back down again, and it's not pleasant at all.
Oh dear.
Hate to rush you, but some of us are drowning.
Yeah.
No. All of you are drowning.
That's fair.
Oh, I do hope that out of all of you, Bertie's the only one that drowns.
Thanks, Alex. Of all of the people at this table, I hope you're the only one that drowns.
I'm going to be honest, irony is more important to me than player characters.
I'm gonna stay in the air pocket
Sure.
and hang on just for a little while. I mean,
Could your count of many colours become like a diving suit?
Fully functional aqualung.
yes.
Just a rocket
No.
ship
Yeah.
to fly
Or a
out
boat?
there.
Could it be a boat? Could you be dressed in a boat?
Can it become a wetsuit?
Yeah.
So at least I stay warm.
I mean, yeah, I probably
I
can.
would assume that.
Okay.
Or a dry suit.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I will, at the very least, I will change my outfit so that it's something that doesn't drag me down.
Sure. Functionally, you aren't able to change to something that's keeping you any warmer.
Even just a swimsuit.
Sure.
Like,
The kind of
if I
thing-
can't do a wetsuit because they don't exist yet.
The kind of thing that would keep you at the
Long
same temperature but wouldn't drag you down was just you're smothered in goose fat all of a sudden. Like an inch of goose fat. That's what,
Yep.
And your pants. That's what you're now wearing.
That's what I'm now wearing.
Goose fat and pants. Okay.
Here to help, listeners. If you,
We are in
to make
Paris,
it
so
back to the boat.
new fashion statement. Have you seen the goose fat and pants look?
He's allowing an inch of foie gras across his whole body. It is
How horribly decadent.
That's my round.
Very neat.
So we'll cut back to Bertie underway. The train is going, and then it kind of judders and slows. Then it picks up speed again suddenly.
somebody's obstructing the doors again. When will they learn?
It is an uncomfortable journey. Meanwhile, the
Oh,
bookish-
really? Is it?
Bertie,
Mildly perturbed.
Bertie has this sort of daydream about being smothered in an inch of goose fat. It's, delicious.
Meanwhile, the bookish fellow opposite you is sort of taking notes, going, "I have to say, you're not actually what I expected at all. That's really interesting. So, I suppose if you were to use this extended lapel," and he's just discussing the nuances of how you could make this suit for your ugly, ugly daughter.
Yes, this is all fascinating. What is your name?
Campbell. He holds his hand out and shakes it. Pleasure to meet you. Obviously, you need no introduction. So
Yeah, of course.
gives a sort of snigger and carries on writing in his notebook.
Either does not notice or pretends not to notice. Either way.
And he proceeds to go, may I sketch you?
No, of course. This is my best side, and Bertie just looks at him straight on.
He begins sketching Bertie. And at that nice, gentle note, whilst most of the party are genuinely facing complete death, we'll take a break and we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
Not just partial death.
Complete death.
Test. Elias, hopefully if you hear this, it means I've found a way to record those difficult statements I was telling you about. While I hate to speak ill of the dead, the previous archivist left this place in such a dreadful mess, and even an organization with such an unusual focus as the Magnus Institute needs a well-organized archive. As you know, I've been going through trying to digitize and record audio versions, but I've been having trouble with a few of the more bizarre statements. There have been sufficient distortions as to make them utterly unintelligible. Thankfully, though, I managed to unearth this old tape recorder from storage, and these cassettes, archaic as they may be, are still better than nothing. So with that in mind, I thought I'd take it for a spin, as it were. I've taken the shortest of the problem statements and I'm trying it here. Frankly, I wouldn't normally bother with something so fragmented, but it should be fine as a test. Statement of Jacob, no second name given, regarding God knows what. Original statement given July 15th, 2011. Statement begins. It'll get you too. You can stare all you want, make your notes and your inquiries, but all your beholding will come to nothing. When the time arrives and all is darkness and butchery, you'll wish you had stopped listening and run. Statement ends. Yes, well, you see why I wouldn't have otherwise recorded it. Not exactly something for posterity, but nonetheless, let me know if you are able to hear that correctly, Elias. If so, I think we can begin transcribing the rest of the statements. The Magnus Archives, a new weekly horror podcast by Rusty Quill. Coming soon.
And welcome back. So, Sasha, you're currently the only party member whose head is above water.
My head is above water. It's just also beneath boat.
I suppose I look for the boat.
I'll tell you what, give me a general perception check for Zolf and boat.
9 plus 8, 17.
17? You see Zolf. The boat is still out of sight, but you see Zolf sort of fighting to get above water. Honestly, you see matted hair occasionally breaking the surface and then disappearing underneath again. You could probably swim to him. In fact, you're quite close.
Okay, gosh, okay. It would be the kind of thing I do to risk staying.
Life and limb.
Yep.
It's the Sasha way.
Oh gosh, 17.
That did hover on that one. I was watching that dice.
16.
Let's just say that was a really important roll that you just succeeded. It will take you a few rounds, but I'll make the single swim check for the sake of speed.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think we only need one check from now on. I don't think that you ever need to check my swimming. Ever.
She's got a certificate, that's all you need.
I can do the width on my back in boots.
Get a brick from the bottom while we're wearing pyjamas.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
I've got goggles. Goggles on,
I mean, if you want to swim down for the brick at the bottom,
Tony the Tiger approves.
So you managed to make it to Zolf. You are not able to pull him up or anything. You're not that competent, but you literally have a handle on him. I'll give you that. Hamid, all of this is going without you being aware. Is there anything you can do?
I am going to, again, I'm never ever letting go of the boat.
That's fine.
I'm always going to have one hand as securely as possible.
Very wise.
I am going to drag myself round to the outside of the boat and try and get out of the water up on top of it.
Okay, I'll give.
Still in goose fat because that's quite slippy.
Not in my hands.
I will give you a strength check to get yourself up onto the outside, but I'm not giving you any penalty for being blown off, short of an absolute fumble. But you're not hauling yourself on top of the boat without a check.
Yeah, that's fair. I will just fail rather than risk losing my grip on the boat.
That's what I'm giving you as an option.
That's a 3, and my strength modifier is -1.
The second that you are outside of the boat,
Yeah.
everything just freezes, latches up, and you can barely hold on to the boat.
Yeah.
So, cutting back to Bertie. Campbell's finished his note back and he turns it round and he's done an amazing drawing in the time that you've been waiting.
Gosh, I am handsome.
It's not only is it a good drawing, but to really spell it out, it's what Bertie thinks he looks like.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's shiny.
It's an incredibly flattering. There's some subtle shading that might be a halo, it's hard to tell, but it's also done despite whatever you're wearing. You're wearing sort of breeches but no shirt, and it's all very artistically
Am I just emerging
manful.
from a lake?
That kind of thing we're going
Is
for.
the kind of thing? Is it a little bit like Putin riding a horse? Is
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Cross Putin and Mr. Darcy.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's as good as Putin thinks he is.
Right. Okay.
Because that's a bit extreme. But nonetheless, it's incredibly flattering.
Yep.
He just sort of shows it to you. What do you think? I mean, I think it's quite nice. Good.
Bertie and Campbell's eyes lock across a crowded portrait.
Give me a little. Oh.
Is this a flirt check?
You don't need to give a roll. Camel just sort of goes, no, sorry. Oh, total misunderstanding here. This is really awkward. I'm so, you're a fantastic. I was wondering if you'd be willing to be in one of my books as a character.
Well, yes, of course. No, that's fine. Admiring me platonically is also understandable. I am the ideal of a man, particularly when in a cave.
Well, as lightning's still arcing loud, like there are the occasional thunderclap as the lightning mist sparks outside of the train, and it's still juddering and uncomfortable. He starts going, do you mind if I ask you some questions about yourself? Just get a bit more depth.
Ah, but of course.
He proceeds to launch into a series of questions. I'll let you decide at a later date how much you share. Cutting back to Sasha, you have Zolf.
I haven't had a turn yet.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Zolf.
Phil go, lose a round's worth of air because I've just been grabbed, and then try and get my head above the water.
Okay.
That's better. 12.
12. You managed to get your head above water.
See, Sasha?
Yes.
Where do you get back to the boat?
Really, Zolf? Do we? Really? Great. Good job, boss.
At which point, give me a swim check, Sasha.
6 minus 1.
You managed to get a sarcastic quip out before immediately going back beneath the water.
Right, good job, boss.
We're still holding on to each other.
Oh yeah, you're still holding on.
Right.
Hamid, try again for the top of the boat.
No.
Okay.
From where I am, keeping one hand tightly lashed on, I cast Prestidigitation,
Okay.
putting a spray of red sparks as high into the air as I can manage.
You're stretching Prestidigitation into Dancing Lights territory.
Could you?
I'll allow you to do it, but bear in mind that the strict rule of no strict function means it's going to be for flavour and nothing more.
Yeah, sparks in the air, which don't technically help. Like, I think that's what Hamid would do.
Okay.
Like,
You can't cast message on people who can't see.
no.
It's all
Or like all my stuff is line of sight.
Okay, there is another huge wave. Give me a reflex save, Hamid.
15.
15. The boat gives a massive shudder, and you take a small blow to the head. You're not receiving damage for it, but it is a because it's very difficult to hold on.
I reflexively turn my hands into claws to give myself a better grip on the boat.
Do you notice that you've done so?
Yes, but it's the least of my
Okay, in which case, cut back to Bertie, at which point the train sort of gives a judder. You're well into your sort of biography, as it were, edited for only the best bits, obviously. He keeps giving sort of questions regarding like romantic liaisons. He keeps steering it back towards. He's like, so were there any women, any men? Both? Neither? He just keeps steering it back into romances and romance and romance and have you had any partners, blah 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 blah. Nothing sordid, but it's like when you mention that you have a maiden aunt and all that, he's just like, oh, I bet she was trying to pay you up, hey.
Yeah.
It feels like he's very much trying to turn this into something it's not. So the train judders and then stops. Give me a perception check.
18 minus 1 is 17.
You hear a muffled thump. From behind the driver's door.
I'm presumably, therefore, I'm in the carriage that's immediately...
You're in the compartment immediately behind the
okay.
driver's compartment.
What? Oh, goodness. Bertie consults his watch. Yeah, I've got a bet to win. Barges out of the corridor, knocks on the door of the... and realises partway through the knock, why must Sir Bertrand MacGuffingham knock, and just opens the door.
It's locked.
Punches the door.
Bang! He opens the door slightly, it's on a chain, and he looks at you. Doom?
Now, we appear to have stopped.
Doomed! Have you seen? It's awful, we'll never leave!
Aren't you going to get out and push or something? Come on.
Are you?
Would it help?
No!
Then I won't!
I'm glad he closes the door.
Bertie punches the door again.
He opens it. What?
Is there any way that we can get this train restarted?
What do you think I'm trying to do?
Well, answer my questions poorly, in which you are succeeding estimably.
He closes the door again.
Bertie punches the door again.
He opens it. What do you want?
Bertie now punches the door very hard in an attempt to break the chain.
Give me a strength check.
17 plus 3 is 20.
You break the small chain and throw the driver backwards onto the control panel, and he's just up against going, oh, ah!
You know, I've always wanted to be in the driver's seat of a train. This looks very fancy.
Cut back to...
Don't call me Shirley.
Sasha first.
Since I'm underwater. There's a swim check.
Yep.
Oh, 10.
10. You remain under the water. You're still holding your breath. Zolf, you have hold on each other though.
Cast stepping stones.
Okay. Describe the effect and describe how it plays out.
Okay, so with the hand that's not grabbing hold of Sasha, I grab the dolphin, my holy symbol,
Sure.
the dolphin, and scream contrition to Poseidon in general
Give
terms.
a small sample. Don't scream because the mics can't handle it.
So I grab my driftwood dolphin and just scream to the heavens, look, I'm sorry, alright? I'm sorry! I'll do better! Don't kill my friends!
Okay.
Cast stepping stones.
Stepping stones works.
Grab hold of it and
Okay.
try and haul Sasha onto it.
Okay, give me a strength check to do so.
4.
A 4. You keep hold of Sasha, but nonetheless you do not manage to haul her up. But you are yourself holding onto the stepping stone, which is now in a fixed position.
Yep.
The waves are all over the place, but you're holding onto Sasha.
Yep.
Hamid, give me a perception check.
24.
24. You see the stepping stone burst out from the water, and what might very well be Zolf.
I shout
Okay.
as loudly as I possibly, my tiny little lungs can manage.
Okay.
Just to try
Just
and
anything.
literally just
ah!
just to give them a sense of what direction I'm in,
Okay.
because I know that they will have to try and come
Sure.
back together at some
I'm messing
point.
around with round order a bit. Both of you give me perception checks.
I am underwater. But
Sound travels better underwater.
I've still got 24.
24.
8.
Sasha, there's a moment where you're above the water. You hear where it is and then go immediately below the water again.
Helpful.
Yeah, I know. So, cutting to Bertie. You are currently sat in the driving seat of the train. I'm just skipped ahead some time.
Toot toot!
Bashing buttons and moving levers, and the driver's just sat there looking at you going, won't make a difference. Won't make a difference.
What will make a difference? What is the essential problem here?
Water! There's water in the tunnel, isn't it? We're doomed!
Can I get it? How far through the tunnel are we?
Good question. He sits down, gets out a pocket watch, and actually sits and does some maths. Right, we've been going for about an hour, so we're about a third of the way.
Third of the way. And how what is the distance remaining in miles?
17 miles.
17 miles. And would you regard the distance ahead as traversable by a heroic man?
No. You'd be doomed.
Why would I be doomed? Would you please explain to me, slowly and without the word doomed, why I would be doomed?
He takes a moment and goes, you would be because water... He's talking as if you're to a child, despite the fact that he's barely above halfling height. So there's a discrepancy there. Water plus lightning equals, taps on you, cooked chicken. You'd be
Very well.
Unless I turn the whole train off so that you can walk the remaining distance.
Well, I think it would be necessary. If someone were to reach the end and seek help, then turning off the train might well be the best move.
They're gonna know before you get there anyway. The time it would take us to get there on the train, right, is they're gonna know when we're late sooner than you're gonna reach them anyway.
And what will they then do?
Presume we're late.
As in the late train.
But under those circumstances, and Bertie is like, he's putting on his must think down to your level voice. Under those circumstances, what mechanisms are there for the retrieval of the train and the clearing of the line?
He looks at you as if you're an idiot. Obviously they send the engineers down the line and clear out the water so that then they can get to the train and we restart the train and we go. What's wrong with you?
Well, very well. No, that makes perfect sense. How long would that take?
Oh, about a day. Cut back to.
They're probably getting on really well, aren't they? They're almost there.
In Bertie's head, we're on a kind of like the owl and the pussycat kind of.
It's a pleasure cruise. In Bertie's mind, we're all holding pina coladas.
Is
Shuffleboard on the deck.
Is there a little stop motion like 2D animation where we're all just smiling?
Yeah.
It's just going up and down the way.
Oh, it's a certain mouse who you can't name for copyright reason.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to start just for the sake of sanity and say, Sasha, given that you're holding on to Zolf and have bashed into it a couple of times, you know there's a surface there. So rather than swimming, I'll just allow you to do a strength check to pull yourself up. For
Great,
the sake of
that's
speed.
still my -1.
10. You don't let go.
Yay!
Zolf.
I will actually just try and heft Sasha under my own
Alright, go for it again.
power. I just need to not roll rubbish.
That'd help.
11.
11.
Rolled average.
You're all still holding on, but neither of you are pulling
Right.
yourselves up.
Is my head above water? Yay!
In fact, I'll throw you a bone. You can tell the direction of the boat because Hamid is still. Blah! Blah!
Yay!
It is a decent distance away and getting further.
No.
So, Hamid, are you still just yelling?
No, I'll probably stop. 6 seconds of yelling sounds about right. Don't want to lose my voice.
Suddenly, an eerie calm starts coming across.
Calm in a bedsheet with
Oh, it's
two
a bunch of-
eye holes cut out.
A bunch of old people from Toy Mart.
The waves begin to lessen, and there's not beaming sunlight, but there's definitely a sense of sunlight behind the clouds immediately overhead only. Looking around, however, you see that on literally all sides, it is massively tempestuous again.
Is this your boss?
Yeah, I think this might be upper management. And try and get her on the stepping
Give me a
stones.
profession sailor check,
Okay.
Zolf.
20.
You are in the eye of the storm.
Oh, right.
I will, for the sake of speed and ease, say, Zolf, you manage and Sasha manage to get yourselves up onto the stepping stone. Is it wide enough for two if you scrunch up?
Oh no, I'm not getting on. I will be kicking because I will provide motor power to it.
Gotcha. You managed to get
Well,
Sasha.
I will be kick.
We'll say that you managed to get Sasha on the stepping stone. We'll say that Hamid manages to get on top of the boat for the sake of speed while you've got this brief reprise and you are kicking just to keep things moving. Cut back to Bertie and the driver's just sat there with his head in his hands.
Right. Well, I've formed a plan of action. Now, you are going to switch off the train, I'm going to get off the train and walk, which I'll be able to do safely because you will have the train switched off, correct?
Fine. I see no problems with this whatsoever. I see no problems turning off the train that has a lightning elemental inside it. He then proceeds to, before you even say anything, start pulling levers. Stall turns down. There's still lightning arcing from the sort of what would be the boiler of a normal train, but sort of on that snub ahead of the driver's cabin. You can still see the water dropping and water sort of arcing across the floor.
How far ahead is it arcing out and looking dangerous?
It's arcing from the train to the wall and occasionally across the floor, which appears to have about a foot of water in it.
Right. Is there any way of deactivating a lightning elemental?
You let it go.
Kill it.
It's a creature, like a monster.
Really
is.
annoy the train.
Really annoy the elemental.
Yeah.
I paid for my ticket.
I feel like you should be asking in character rather than out.
That's true. Well, I mean, is this stuff that Bertie would know?
You would probably know what a lightning elemental is.
It's a creature.
It's a creature made out of lightning, is what your knowledge would be.
Is it?
It's something that you would have encountered in children's stories.
Yeah.
Because, lightning
Everything.
elementals are real in this world.
Is it intelligent enough to talk to?
They can be, depending on the elemental.
Right. So.
They are not mindless.
Okay. So I'm going to attempt to negotiate with the lightning elemental.
Okay.
Pomp and pageantry,
Yep.
intimidate elemental.
Could you do me a favour and just propose that in character, just aloud?
So, now this seems a little bit more on the electric side than I was really hoping for with the deactivation of the train. Perhaps I could speak to someone more on the supply side of the electricity. Perhaps the lightning elemental itself.
Do you have any idea what would happen if we release that lightning elemental for even a moment?
No.
And I'll end the episode there. So, yeah, not a lot of progress made, sadly, but
Hey,
that's...
I think it's a massive
We
amount
made
of
huge progress in the not dying
I began the episode underwater and I end it flopped over, essentially, a bit of a door while Leonardo DiCaprio is kicking away and...
Never let go! Before letting him go. Because in character, with Rose, she lets him go because he's an entirely disposable member of the working class. Yeah. Off you go, off you trot, I'm going to live my wonderful rest of my life.
I like the photo they have of her just kind of like slumped over the door and just like space there, space there.
Yeah.
They could just both fit on it.
I should have fit a door into this.
So we got a Titanic thing in there.
You didn't say what kind of driftwood the boat was made out of. Maybe
Just doors.
Entirely outdoors.
Loads of doors.
Entirely outdoors and partially frozen aristocrats. So it's secretly the villain of the film.
It turns out it's just loads of discarded aristocratic furniture. It's just all cobbled together. Anyway, I think we'll reconvene next week and try to get you out of just the worst situation, just the worst. And I'm speaking for all of you because the idea of Bertie having to have a situation that he can't punch is just, it's just terrible. So until that time,
we feel for you.
He is metaphorically lost at sea.
So until that time, we'll see you again next week. So bye-bye.
Bye.
Rusty Quill Gaming is a podcast distributed by rustyquill.com and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial International License. Today's episode was recorded and produced by Alexander J. Newall. To comment on episodes, make donations, and view links, images, videos, and show notes, visit rustyquill.com. Rate and review us on iTunes. Visit us on Facebook. Tweet us on Twitter at @TheRustyQuill or email us at mail@rustyquill.com. Thanks for listening. Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Rusty Quill Gaming Podcast. I'm your host and GM Alex Newall, and with me for another wet race I have
James Ross.
Wet race, really? Is that what you're going with?
No,
That's the episode name. Wet Race.
Wet Race 2000.
Now I'm starting.
Wet Race 1895.
Yeah.
Oh,
What year is it? I don't even know.
Hamid runs up to the camera.
What year is it? Doesn't matter. Magic.
What magic mean?
1892.
I'm gonna
Sorry, you should introduce me again.
I'm going to go ahead and open the entire episode again because I
Yeah.
don't think Wet Race is the way to go.
Wet Race.
Wet race is awful.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Rusty Quill Gaming Podcast. I'm your host and GM Alex Newall, and for another adventure, a race as it were.
James Wet Race 2000 Ross.
What time do you need to leave?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
I'm just imagining lots of people with bathtubs with wheels.
I just slip and slide.
Okay, right, let's go. Go on, fine.
I know, keep that in.
Well, it's going in. That was a bleeding blooper, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Cut to Zolf. Not Zolf. Cut to
for the tape. Look directly
look
into
straight
James'
to
eyes.
James. What are you
and now
going
for
to do,
Zolf.
Zolf? Body swap. Okay.